Now today we are going to do new meditation in contemplation of phenomenon. There are 5 things. So this is the last meditation, the Four Noble Truths meditation. So keep your back straight and close your eyes. I am going to guide you through this meditation. Think in this way. Meditation on Four Noble Truths. Supreme Buddha taught the noble truth of suffering. Birth is suffering. Birth happens in 4 ways. There are beings wandering in samsara, born from an egg. There are beings wandering in samsara, born from a womb. There are beings wandering in samsara, born in a moist environment. There are beings wandering in samsara, born spontaneously. Birth is suffering, no matter how or where they are born. They experience aging. Aging is suffering. When beings age and grow older, they become very weak. They lost their eyesight. They lost their hearing. Their hair turns gray and falls out. Their teeth fall out. Their skin wrinkles. They cannot control their body. Their organs become weak. Aging invariably results in suffering. Whatever way they are born, beings will experience sickness. Beings who are sick experience an enormous amount of suffering. They experience eye diseases. They experience ear diseases. They experience nose diseases. They experience mouth diseases. They experience teeth diseases. They experience bone diseases. They experience skin diseases. They experience diseases all over the body. When they are sick, they may become completely helpless. Sick is suffering. Those who experience sickness suffer bodily and mentally. These beings ultimately experience death. Death is certainly a great suffering for beings because of having to associate with people and things they don't like. Living beings experience great suffering. People experience great suffering because of separation from the people and things they love. When they are separated from loved ones and the things they love, They become very sad. They do not eat. They do not sleep. They become sick and stressed. They sometimes lose their minds because of associating with people and things they don't like. They get various kinds of illnesses. They experience extreme mental stress. Some suffering beings committed suicide. All these things are suffering. Even though all beings do not like to be born and experience a life of suffering, they will have to do so according to their karma. Not getting what we want results in suffering. Even though all beings don't like to age and want to avoid aging, they do not get what they wish for. That is suffering. Even though all beings do not like to be sick and want to be healthy, they do not get what they wish for. That is also suffering. Even though all beings do not like to die and want to live long, suffering is the result when they must face death. All beings do not like to associate with the people they don't like. They like to avoid such people, but they do not get what they wish for. That is also suffering. All beings don't like to be separated from their loved ones. They like to stay together with their dear ones. They do not get what they wish for. They suffer because of that. All beings experience physical and mental suffering. They sigh, they weep, they grieve, they get depressed. All these things are suffering. If there is form that is created from the four great elements, if there is any feeling conditioned by contact, if there is any perception conditioned by contact, if there is any volitional formation conditioned by contact, if there is any consciousness conditioned by mentality and materiality, if there is any attachment to sensual desire for the five aggregates of clinging, form, feeling, perception, volitional formations, and consciousness, there will be definitely be suffering. This is called noble truth of suffering. Our teacher, Supreme Buddha, instructed that this noble truth of suffering should be understood. The Blessed One taught that craving is the cause of suffering, the second noble truth. Supreme Buddha taught that endless births and suffering will be the inevitable results as long as three types of craving exist in life. These three types of craving are craving for sensual pleasure, craving for existence, and craving for non-existence. As long we are reborn in samsara, we experience aging, we experience sickness, we experience death, we suffer from being separated from our loved ones, we suffer from having to associate with the people we do not like. We experience suffering because we don't get what we want. We experience physical suffering and mental suffering. Again and again, we will experience the suffering of the five aggregates of clinging. So the Supreme Buddha taught that these three types of craving, which generate the five aggregates of clinging, should be eradicated. Our Supreme Buddha taught the cessation of suffering as the third noble truth. Suffering will be eradicated by destroying these three types of craving. One must achieve complete cessation of craving. One must give up craving. One must liberate oneself from craving. One must detach oneself from craving. This is the liberation from suffering. When we escape from this craving, we will escape from the four aggregates of clinging. We will escape from the feeling aggregate of clinging. We will escape from the perception aggregate of clinging. We will escape from the volitional formations aggregate of clinging. We will escape from the consciousness aggregate of clinging. When we are free from craving, we will be free from the earth element, the water element, the heat element, and the air element. We will be free from the space element. We will be free from the consciousness element. When these three types of craving are not there, we escape from the eye. We escape from the visual form. We escape from the ear. We escape from the sound. We escape from the nose. We escape from odors. We escape from tongue. We escape from taste. We escape from the body. We escape from tangibles. We escape from the mind. We escape from thoughts. When we escape from craving, we will escape from this world. We will escape from birth. We will escape from aging. We will escape from death. We will escape from diseases. Whatever suffering exists in the world, we will escape from all that suffering. The Supreme Buddha taught that liberation from suffering, the eradication of craving, the cessation of greed, hatred, and delusion is Nibbana. Nibbana is the highest happiness. Our Supreme Buddha toward the Four Noble Truths as a path to follow to achieve cessation of suffering and the highest comfort. The fourth noble truth is the middle path, the noble eightfold path. The first element of the noble eightfold path is right view, the understanding of the four noble truths. Suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation of suffering arises in the disciple who listens to the Four Noble Truths and considers wisely. This is right view. The one who achieves right view will get the opportunity to understand right intention. Right intention is threefold. Thoughts of separation, separating oneself from the objects of sensual pleasure with the aim of realizing the truths. Thoughts of freeing oneself from ill will and having loving kindness towards all beings, and thoughts of harmlessness based on non-violence. One who has intention of renunciation, non-ill will, and harmlessness develops right speech. One who practices right speech abstains from false speech, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle chatter. The one who has right will knows how one should conduct one's bodily action and develop right action. When we restrain bodily actions, we do not harm any living beings. We do not kill any living being, and we avoid harming anyone. One does not steal anything that belongs to others, whether in the monastery, village, city, or anywhere else. The one who has right view and right intention avoids sexual misconduct. This leads to right action. One who has right view develops right livelihood. Right livelihood entails making a living without dishonesty, without trickery, and without causing harm or suffering to others. One earns an honest living in a righteous and blameless way. A monk with right livelihood uses the four requisites righteously with a clear consciousness. The one who has right will practices restraint and discipline in this way and strives to develop the Dhamma within himself or herself. One sees unwholesome states that have already within himself or herself and tries to eradicate them. One fears unwholesome states that have not arisen yet and so strives to prevent them from arising. One recognizes wholesome states that have already arisen and strives to develop them. One also attempts to cultivate wholesome states that have not yet arisen. This is the disciple's right effort. One who has right view tries to live mindfully. One develops mindfulness of body. This mindfulness in contemplating the body. One develops mindfulness of feeling. This is mindfulness in contemplating feelings. One develops mindfulness of the mind. This is mindfulness in the contemplating the mind. One develops mindfulness of the five hindrances, five aggregates of thinking, the six internal and external sense bases, the seven factors of enlightenment, and the four noble truths. This is mindfulness in contemplating phenomena. In this way, by developing the four establishments of mindfulness well, one establishes right mindfulness. By establishing right mindfulness well, one is able to suppress the five hindrances and progressively develop the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and the fourth jhana. This is right concentration. It is the unwavering focus on a wholesome state of mind. In this way, Supreme Buddha taught the Noble Eightfold Path as the one and only path to Nibbana. That is right will, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. No one in this world, with its devas and humans, can reject the Four Noble Truths taught by the Supreme Buddha and try to introduce a different set of Four Noble Truths. No one can introduce a different cause of suffering by rejecting the cause of suffering taught by the Supreme Buddha. Nobody can introduce a different cessation of suffering by rejecting the cessation of suffering taught by the Supreme Buddha. Nobody can introduce a different path leading to the cessation of suffering by rejecting the path leading to the cessation of suffering taught by the Supreme Buddha. Certainly, these Four Noble Truths are the highest universal truths. Certainly, these Four Noble Truths are the truths that will not ever change. Certainly, these Four Noble Truths are the truths that will not ever be proven to be untrue. These Four Noble Truths are the truth forever. I worship these Four Noble Truths taught by the Supreme Buddha. I pay homage to these four noble truths. I pay homage to these four noble truths. I pay homage to these four noble truths. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.